Welcome to the Lake Mead and Hoover Dam update for late December 2023. We have a lot to discuss in this episode, so let's get to it. The current water level at our nation's largest reservoir is 1,067 feet 5 inches above mean sea level. That's an increase of 1 foot 9 inches since our last Lake Mead update. The current water level is 117 feet above minimum power pool and 152 feet below full pool. In today's episode, we kick off with a detailed update on Lake Mead's latest water level and capacity statistics. Next up, we delve into several groundbreaking agreements aimed at conserving up to 3 million acre-feet of Colorado River water. But there's a catch. While every state, tribe, and water district has negotiated in good faith, a district in California is playing by their own rules, taking the federal government for tens of millions of dollars. And finally, don't miss our in-depth analysis of the Colorado River Basin's Snowpack Report. Following a series of intense storms, the state of our snowpack just might surprise you. This is timeBomb. Let's get started. Hoover Dam's reservoir, Lake Mead, has had a terrific year with significant gains in water level. But despite all the gains, the current water level is still 86 feet below the 1,153-foot average water level for late December. The highest water level at Lake Mead was recorded on July 24, 1983, at 1,225 feet. The record low water level was set last year on July 28th, when the water level dropped to just 1,040 feet, 7 inches. Lake Mead's full pool capacity is 28.2 million acre-feet. The average capacity for this state is 18,102,000 acre-feet. The current capacity of the Lake Mead Reservoir is just shy of 9 million acre-feet. That's about 49.7% of the average capacity for this state. The record low was set in July of 2022 when the capacity dropped to just 7,018,000 acre-feet. Even after a terrific water year, the Lake Mead Reservoir is only at 34.4% of its full pool capacity. Now let's take a look at a chart of Lake Mead's water level for the 2023 calendar year. The low water level for this year was set on January 1st, with an elevation of just under 1,045 feet. In late April, the spring runoff hit, increasing water levels by a whopping 20 feet. The water elevation peaked on September 17th with a water level of 1,066.5 feet. Since then, the elevation has remained flat throughout October and November. Today, the water level at Lake Mead is back on the rise, thanks to recent snowstorms and decreased outflows from Hoover Dam. The current water level of 1,067 feet represents a 23-foot increase so far this year. Lake Mead is set to get a massive boost in water level this summer after several California water agencies agreed to conserve up to 643,000 acre-feet of water through the end of 2025. The U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, which manages America's largest reservoir, announced the agreement during a signing ceremony at the Paris Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada. California water agencies will receive a total of $295 million in compensation from the federal government in order to fund projects for water conservation. That calculates out to $458 per acre-foot. This is just one of several agreements that will add up to the goal of conserving 3 million acre-feet of Colorado River water before the interim guidelines expire at the end of 2026. Now, I'll talk more about these interim guidelines in a bit, but first, let's take a look at a few more of these water agreements to see what the federal government is paying water management districts to conserve water. In late November, the federal government agreed to pay water agencies in Arizona $63.4 million to conserve 162,000 acre-feet. That equals $389 for an acre-foot of water. The Coachella Valley Water District in Southern California will receive $36 million to conserve 90,000 acre-feet of water at a price of $400 per acre-foot. $400 is right in line with what the federal government is willing to pay to conserve an acre-foot of Colorado River water. Let's take a brief look at a few more of these agreements. The Palo Verde Irrigation District, also in California, will get $191 million to save 477,000 acre-feet. Again, that's $400 per acre-foot of water. In Arizona, the Gila River Indian Community is getting paid $400 per acre-foot to conserve 375,000 acre-feet of water. As you can see, all of these agreements are in the neighborhood of $400 per acre-foot. There's several more agreements. I'm not going to go through them all. But we do have an outlier that I want to discuss. In December, the Bureau of Reclamation announced a deal with California's Imperial Irrigation District, who will be paid $77.6 million to conserve just 100,000 acre-feet. That equates to $776 per acre-foot. So why is the Imperial Irrigation District, or IID, getting almost double what other water districts receive? Well, we know that California receives more Colorado River water than any other state. But it's the IID in Southern California that receives 70% of the state's water supply. That's right, the IID receives 3.1 million acre-feet a year, or 25% of the entire Colorado River annual supply. Owning the largest entitlement of Colorado River water gives the Imperial Water District a lot of power. And there's a reason for this. The IID is one of America's major agricultural areas, producing a significant portion of our winter vegetables. Reducing water use in such a productive agricultural region requires careful management to minimize impacts on the nation's food supply. Again, all of this gives the Imperial Irrigation District a lot of power to haggle for higher compensation. When negotiations started, you won't believe this, the IID asked the government to pay $1,500 per acre-foot. I guess we should be happy with the $776 agreement we got. Okay, let's get back to that list of agreements I spoke about earlier. All of these agreements are just the latest in a series of commitments by Nevada, California, and Arizona to collectively reduce water by at least 3 million acre-feet through the end of 2026. That's when the Colorado River's current operating guidelines are set to expire. These interim guidelines, officially known as the Colorado River Interim Guidelines for Lower Basin Shortages and Coordinated Operations for Lake Powell and Lake Mead, but that's way too long, so I'm just going to say interim guidelines. These interim guidelines were established in 2007. The purpose is to manage operations of Lake Mead and Lake Powell to address ongoing water shortages in the Colorado River Basin. If you're a regular viewer of this channel, you're likely familiar with our discussions about the balancing tiers at Hoover and Glen Canyon dams. These guidelines help determine how water is released from these dams to maintain balance between Lake Mead and Lake Powell. These guidelines also govern water releases from Hoover Dam to the lower basin states. This is crucial. You see, the set of laws that govern the Colorado River, often referred to as the law of the river, requires 7.5 million acre-feet to be released from Hoover Dam to the 3 lower basin states of Arizona, California, and Nevada every year. It's these interim guidelines that allow releases from Hoover Dam to fall below that 7.5 million acre-feet threshold when water elevations in Lake Mead fall below specific levels. As these guidelines are set to expire at the end of 2026, the agreements with water districts I spoke about earlier aim to boost water levels in Lake Mead and Lake Powell. This is crucial so that the states and water management districts can focus on negotiating the next set of rules that will take effect January 1st, 2027. Water levels in Lake Mead typically remain flat or decline from January to April. This is due to the fact that much of the precipitation during these months arrives in the form of snow. That snow will not melt until the spring runoff in April. To get an idea of how strong or weak the spring runoff will be, we take a look at the snow water equivalent, or SWE. SWE represents the depth of water that would result if the entire snowpack melted. We had a pretty strong start to the winter season so far, with 2 strong storms in October. Another series of storms added to the snowpack in early December, but since then, things have tapered off. The current snow water equivalent in the Colorado River headwaters is 4 inches, or just 77% of the median snow water equivalent. The median snow water equivalent at this date is 6.2 inches. The snowpack peaks in April with a median snow water equivalent of 17.5 inches. The current SWE is 27% of that level. Now, with all the talk about this winter being a very strong El Niño, you would think the snowpack would be in better condition. But much of the precipitation that we've received so far has just not made it to the Colorado River headwaters. At this point, it's still too early in the season to make any predictions, but I can predict that timeBomb will be here to keep you updated. Well, that's all for this episode. As always, thank you for watching. I'll be back with another episode next week. In the meantime, please consider subscribing to my channel. I really value your support.